it's the act of doing it and thinking about it in a structured way that is way more valuable than the particular answers that you're going to come up with. Good evening, people in the room, and good morning to our folks watching in Brisbane. I think I need to get my bio updated. I've been at Mars almost 5 years. I noticed just a couple of days ago, so it's got to be at least 20 years that I've been in the ICT business now. And one of the very first things that I did when I came to Mars is, after I found the clicker, is introduce the business model canvas as one of the tools that we used as Mars, and I'm delighted to walk you through it again. It's a tool that I think it's one of the Swiss Army knives in the toolbox of an entrepreneur. It's a multi-purpose tool that can solve for an awful lot of the problems that we all have as entrepreneurs in clearly articulating the problem we're trying to solve, figuring out what things we've tried already, what things we still have to try. I think it's a really powerful tool, and I'm delighted to walk you through it tonight. So let's start with that. There we go. Important thing, I'm an ICT guy. I've been in this business a long time. You have to start with a Dilbert cartoon. It's a requirement if you're in this, if you've been in this space as long as me. And one of the things that you inevitably learn is that business plans bear very little resemblance to reality. I've written a bunch. I've even read a few of the ones that I've written after I finished writing them. These are often documents that sort of write down what we think might happen, what we hope would happen. And almost never do they reflect reality. And so I want to teach you about a tool that I think is a better match to the truth. And the reason for that is that as a startup, the things that you guys are about to embark on or that you are already underway, how many of you are working on a startup idea right now? Awesome. So you're already down this journey. You are part of a temporary organization. It might be a very small organization. It might just be you that is the unit of the organization. But you're part of a construct whose job right now is to find a repeatable and scalable business model. Right? That's the function that you've signed up for as an entrepreneur. And we've gotten a lot better about defining that function and the requirements of that function, how to do it in the last sort of 10 years as sort of entrepreneurship has exploded. We've gotten better at the study of those things. And I just want to talk to, one of these tools in particular that I'm going to talk about today is the one in the bottom right-hand corner there. So another sort of setup for this that, in preparing for these things, sort of reinforcing that point about plans being not particularly useful because they're almost always wrong. Dwight Eisenhower, general, said, preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And what I mean by that is that the act of thinking through these things and understanding the problem and sort of doing the what ifs for the problem is highly useful. But the actual answers that you come up with in the business plan are almost always useless, right? So it's the act of doing it and thinking about it in a structured way that is way more valuable than the particular answers that you're going to come up with. And so I had an epiphany, I guess, 5 years ago when I read this book about this model. And so I encourage you all to go find it. It's called Business Model Generation. It is the basis of what I'm going to talk to you about today. And Alexander Osterwalder and Yves Penier and 470 other practitioners who were involved in its creation. You can find my name somewhere on number 438 or something in the bottom corner as one of those experimenters. And anyway, it's a great tool. So without further ado, let me show you the tool. This is it. How many of you have seen this tool before, Business Model Canvas? Awesome. I'm just delighted that that's not a new thing, and the sort of percentage of people in the room who've seen it every year that we do this goes up. How many of you have filled one out for a business? How many of you have tried it before? Awesome. Don't ask me any hard questions, you guys. All right? The people who've done it before. But it's fantastic that you've tried to use it as a tool. And it's a one-page summary of everything that's important to the market that you're about to enter, who your customers are. All the important questions can fit on this page for a business, with one exception, which is the cultural constructs by which you do this. There's a how you do it inside the business, and one of our other lecturers, I'm sure, is going to talk to you about the internal chemistry of your company. This doesn't solve for that, but it solves for all the piece parts that you're going to put together in that construct. And that's that's 98% of solving a business. So let's go through the pieces. First piece on the right is the customer segments. Who are you building this for? Who knows what the number one failure state for a business is? You build something and not enough customers come. So let's start with this part. We, particularly technology entrepreneurs, are great at falling in love with our solution. Right? We figured out a neat engineering way to do this thing. We want to build it. We know how to build it. We get excited about building it, and we forget whether anybody wants to buy it. So start with the customer segment. Inside that box on your business model canvas, we're going to define who you're selling it to, and we want to define them This is not businesses, is not the answer to this question if you make a B2B product. It's not small businesses if you make a B2B product. It's an identifiable, addressable segment of the market. And what I mean is it's people who you can write in the criteria here about who they are in a way that you could go out and find them. Right? That you could identify one of these people when you found them. In a consumer market, it's not 18 to 24-year-olds, right? It's 17-year-olds who have this particular problem. Or it's be as specific there as you can so that you're matching that properly to the next couple of slides. Next question is, what problem do you solve for those people? What jobs do you do for them? And that's the crux of your value proposition. And this is an area on the canvas where most entrepreneurs spend most of their time, if they're doing it well, is in this area. And the folks at Strategyzer now have made a business around the business model canvas, have dove in deeper into those two boxes and have created a new tool, because this is where an awful lot of the failure states in the canvas have happened in the past, right? The people missed this part, right? The customer rarely buys what the company thinks it's selling. Or to quote Clayton Christensen, the customer has a different view of the market. He simply has a job to be done and is seeking to hire the best product or service to do it. I encourage you, I don't have time to go into this topic in detail in this lecture, but if you're looking for a way to think about your value proposition, go look up jobs to be done theory. A set of tools that Christensen and other folks at Harvard have worked on, and it's a a method for thinking about what thing is the customer hiring your product to do. Because they have a problem that they're looking to solve, and they are hiring your service to do that. And I'd encourage you to dive deeper into that line of thinking if you're stuck on a value proposition. I often come at a business idea from the market. I say, hey, I know a particular market, I know a particular segment, what skills do I have in that area? And then going out to say, what jobs can I do for that customer with those skills is a very interesting way to come up with good business ideas if you're one of the people who doesn't yet have a canvas but would like to have one. If you're thinking about that, that's a great place to start. They wrote a second book, the Business Model Canvas, folks, about that. It's called Bad Value Proposition Design. It's a guide to burning cash, communicating poorly, and spending your... Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. Let me get the right one. Value Proposition Design, which is how to create products and services that customers want and get started with Value Proposition Design. I'm going to show you briefly the new kind of canvas that is embedded inside that. How many of you have seen this one? Value proposition canvas. Cool. So this is kind of a more detailed dive into those two pillars of the main business model canvas. And it breaks each of them into three further subsections. And I'll start with the customer segments, because we should start with the customer always in looking at a business. So it adds three little additional details to that section of the canvas. The first one is that little to-do list. The little check represented by the checklist, that's where you write down the jobs that the customer, that you believe that your customer segment is trying to hire you to do. The unhappy, the smiling face are the pains. What things in the existing process, in the existing alternatives, the way that they're solving that job now, because almost always, occasionally we have epiphanies and we come up with brand new products or brand new things. We create whole new market segments that no one else has ever tackled. But most of the time, the customer is solving this job. She's solving it some way already. It's not a perfect answer. It's a flawed answer. It's a suboptimal answer. Your answer is better. But they're doing it some other way. Right? They are solving the problem likely. If it's an acute enough problem that they're going to pay you money for it, they're paying somebody else money to solve that problem now. So right in here, the pains, the things that are unsatisfactory in the customer's mind about that, the existing alternatives, right? So what are the pains that are there? And then similarly, what are the gains that you think they are looking for? What things do they want improved? Sometimes those are the same. Sometimes they're different. You'll hear people talk about, is your product a pain, are you selling vitamins or Band-Aids? Kind of, are you in the pain reliever business, or, are you selling vitamins? And, sort of think about them those ways that sometimes you're taking a negative away and sometimes you're creating a positive. Ideally, you're doing some of both. And then in the second part, in the square box there, in the value proposition, rounding out how your particular value proposition solves each of those three buckets. So sort of the complements to the jobs, gains, and pains are the products and services. Your product and service should solve the pain or solve the job. Your gain creators and your pain relievers are nuances about how to do that. It's a new tool that we've had less exposure to and less experience with as we've gone through this, but it's very promising, and it gives a little bit more depth to an area on the canvas where a lot of entrepreneurs have struggled, and so we think it's a very promising tool. So digression over. No, sorry, not entirely over. One more slide of the digression. You'll also hear us talk. Nathan, I think, spoke to you last week. Nathan Monk, and I'm sure he talked to you about problem, solution fit, and product market fit. Do you talk about those terms? Anyone who was here, did those come up? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say product market fit and problem solution fit? Do those terms resonate? And they happen at the intersection of that customer segment and the value proposition. That's what we're talking about fitting together, right? It's the fit between those two things that we're trying to get when we say we've got problem solution fit is sort of the initial hypothesis that in small numbers we've got fit of those two things, and then we've got product market fit when those people in bulk tell us that we've got fit between the two things. Make sense? Great. So having a great value proposition and great customer segments is a necessary condition for a successful business model, but it's not a sufficient condition for a successful business model. You need some way to find those customers, to tell them about your fantastic value proposition. You need some way for them to, make a decision and, indicate to you that they are buying this thing, that whether it's a service, a product, they need to engage with you to transact with you to get it. And in a lot of cases, you need to actually deliver the service in question. Sometimes you're selling digital products, and the delivery and the buying are, really quite conflated. They happen almost instantaneously. But a lot of times, you make a buy decision, and then Amazon ships me the thing. Or we make a buy decision, and then we have to write a statement of work about that buy decision, and and deliver it. And so that's the channel box on the canvas. What type of relationship does the customer have with you? And it's their relationship with you, right? The customer gets to make this choice about what kind of relationship with you is optimal for them. There are products that you buy that you want a transactional relationship is the desired relationship. I don't want to be friends with Amazon. I want them to ship me stuff and get out of the way. I want that to be frictionless, but it's not a complex relationship. I'm buying enterprise software from somebody. I'm buying an ERP system from them. I want to have a much different relationship. I want to know, I want to know that product and that sales process, quite intricately. And so it's the customer who defines the nature of that relationship. You can aspire to a particular kind, but the customer makes that decision in that box. How do you get paid? Hopefully, the reason you're doing this ultimately is to create a revenue stream. At some point in the process, you need to capture some of the value that you are unlocking from for the customer. And so, how do you get paid here? Where does the cash register go in this business model? And then you move to that on the right is all the customer-facing, market-facing part of your business. This is the things that you are delivering, but you have to do a whole bunch of things in the back of your company in order to make that work. And the first one is the key activities. Writing down what are the things that you have to do. Now, every business has all of these, right? I mean, you have everything on the list. You have to have payroll, you have to have finance, you have to have marketing, all of them are relevant to every business. That's not what to put in this box. This is not all the functions that you know about in a business. These are the ones that are essential to delivering your value proposition. Another way I like to think about this box is, what things couldn't you outsource, effectively in your business? What things have to be done by you internally to this business because they are the key differentiators, the things that you have to do uniquely well in order to win in this particular business model? What are the special activities? Not all the activities, the special activities. And then all of those activities almost inevitably require resources to deliver them, right? They require things, either people, patents, intellectual property, trade secrets, various input goods, and so on. There are key resources that are necessary to do those activities. Write those in this box. Almost every business, too, needs external partners. And again, this is not all the partners. You're going to have an accountant. Your accountant probably isn't on your key partners list. You're going to have a payroll person, also probably not on your key partners list. But you might, if you're building a software product, have a designer, a design team, a design company who's on that list. Or you might have a component supplier of a solar panel that if you're in the cleantech business, who's on that list, because that particular business relationship is essential to the delivery of the value proposition that you're talking about. And all those activities on the left have price tags attached to them. They have a cost structure. And so we want to quantify here the cost structure in an early stage of your business, because this should be a living document. A lot of those things are going to be blank. I mean, you're not going to know what the unit cost of your item is, for example, and you're not going to know, even if you know what the input costs are, you don't know what the divisor is to know how many units you might sell. That's okay. That's normal. You're not supposed to have all of those answers at the early stage of the question. But even at the very earliest stage, write in here what you think the nature of those cost that cost structure is, right? So if it's fundamentally a fixed cost structure, you got a lot of upfront, fixed items, and then relatively small variable costs on top. Write that in the box. You'll figure out the ratio of those things as you go. Figure out what the components are that are on the variable side and what are on the fixed side. Don't need to put the numbers in there. You will get to the point, hopefully, where you put the numbers in there, but you don't pretend to know them, and don't leave the box empty because you don't know the math to put in there, is I guess what I'm trying to get across about that. So on the left, we've got what does it cost to operate this model? And on the right, we've got how do you capture value, right? How do you create and capture value on the right-hand side of that slide? Broadly makes sense so far? Great. I'm going to add one more set of boxes that we add a fair amount here at Mars. We do a fair amount of work with social purpose ventures, with B Corps, with organizations who have multiple bottom lines. And so the canvas really accommodates those very well with just the addition of, those don't purely have to be economic costs that go in the cost structure side of this box. You can happily write in there social environmental costs, and conversely put social environmental benefits in the right-hand side there, and the model fits that really well, which was one of the really pleasant discoveries from us when we began to use the business model with social purpose ventures. It works great. So don't worry about those having to be numeric or dollar costs purely. Canvas, when properly filled out, answers all of these questions, right? It answers who are my customers, what am I providing them, how am I providing it, and why am I providing it? Ultimately, the revenue minus the cost is a big part of the why that we're all doing this. So it captures that really neatly. There are all kinds of ways to build one of these canvases. The Strategizer guys who I mentioned earlier have a website that you can build it on. There's actually a couple of other companies that have analogous kind of website tools. I would encourage you to start with a whiteboard and a bunch of Post-it notes. One of the things that is fantastic about the canvas as a tool is if you do it well, it's got really low resistance to experimentation. Right? If you write it in a document and it's baked into a beautiful set of PowerPoints and tweaking them, takes some tinkering with and so on, you're less likely to update it and to experiment with it. Make it experimentable, at least at the start of your business. I like to put it on a wall board, put Post-it notes on it, and then I capture the iterations by taking camera phone pictures of it, right? Don't need fancy software, just take a picture of it when it's in this state, and then, all right, we change it, and we take a picture of it again, and as long as Apple doesn't lose my iCloud photos, I've got all the history of my canvases as I iterate. And for a startup, its most important function is helping you iterate in a structured way on that search for a repeatable business model, right? It helps you lay out the landscape of potential iterations. It helps you keep track of the iterations that you've already done, right? To say, yeah, I already tried that, or we've already solved that box. I like to color code them and say, the ones that I'm never certain about these things. No startup is ever certain about these things. But I'm 92% sure we got the segment right. Put it on the green Post-its. We'll make those green. I got no idea, what the value proposition is. We put it on the red Post-its, and you can go through that process and keep a really low cost from an investment in the tools, low cost from sort of attachment to the tools and resistance to changing as you think through this stuff, but remarkably high fidelity and useful as a communications tool to your team, to your partners, to your mentors, to whoever is the sounding board that you bounce your business ideas off to say, hey, is this as crazy as I think it is? Is this as great an idea as I think it is? It's a fantastic tool for doing that.